We are now going to go over how to create a matching game in PowerPoint using triggered animations. So what I want to achieve with this slide is, first of all, I want to cover up every single one of these 10 objects. And I want to be able to click the cover of any object and have it disappear, and then click what's underneath to bring it back. So there's a number of things that I need to do. First, I need to create whatever is going to cover these objects, and then I need to add in my animations. Now, I just want to show you something first. This is kind of a quick tip, but it can really make this process a lot easier. If I select any block of text, and I'm just going to add an effect purely for the sake of being able to show you this one thing. You'll see here that it's named Textbox 16 Chikimo. Now that's very helpful because it actually tells you, included in the name of this object is the actual text that you have inside it. So we can very easily see in the animations panel that we are talking about Chikimo. If, however, this only said Textbox 16, that would be extremely difficult to decipher which one it's actually talking about. And bear in mind, you could have more than 10, you could have 20 objects on a slide. And what makes it even more difficult is that for some reason, PowerPoint is naming this Textbox 16. Well, we don't even have 16 objects in this slide, and so you really just have absolutely no idea how it's going to name these things. The problem comes in when you get actual pictures. So let me I'm actually going to get rid of this animation on Chikimo. Let me just add a random effect to Dooney here. So here we can see we have picture 5. If we add an effect to Tiro, there again we see we have picture 8. We don't even have 8 pictures in this slide. So it's a very strange system that PowerPoint uses. But the problem comes in when you start needing to do your triggers. So what I suggest doing, and it might seem a little strange right now, but when we go through the rest of this exercise, you'll see where it comes into play. You want to begin by adding a dummy effect to every single one of the objects on the slide. Text like this I don't really worry about because, like we saw, it's got the name of the text in the name of the animation here. So we're going to be okay with text. But what you want to do is just go through each one of these objects and just add a random effect. Now bear in mind that these animations are not going to be part of the final product. And I suggest using these yellow ones. They don't cause these images to appear or disappear. If you're trying to do other things and suddenly they're appearing and disappearing, then that can cause you a few problems. So just add any random effect from these emphasis ones. It doesn't matter which ones, we're going to get rid of them at the end anyway. So I've just added a random effect to every one of my objects. Now that you have all of your objects in place and each one of these pictures has a dummy animation applied to it, it's time to start putting on our covers. So I'm going to go Insert, Shapes, and I'm going to use a circle. I'm going to click and drag over Dooney, and I'm going to hold the Shift key to make it a perfect circle. I am going to go to the Format tab, and I'm going to give this shape an orange fill and a white outline. So that looks pretty good to me. Now at this stage, I recommend, instead of recreating this circle for each other object, first apply the animations, and then you can actually copy and paste that, and that's going to save you a lot of time. So what we want to do is, first of all, have this circle disappear when we click on it. So we need to add an effect, and that's going to be disappear. Now at this stage it's just set to disappear on click, and that's not actually referring to clicking on this object. So we need to set a trigger. Now that's made it a little bit easier by the fact that we know this is oval 30. So if we click the down arrow and go Timing, Triggers, we can say Start Effect on click of, and we just need to pick oval 30. And that should be simple enough. Now at this stage, I always recommend testing every single animation that you do as you go along, just so that you know you've got your base right before you carry on. So I'm going to go Slideshow, and click that, and that is working just fine. we need to apply a second animation to this circle because we need it to reappear. But there's no point in us setting it to reappear when we click oval 30 because after oval 30 is gone, it's not going to be there to click, so that's going to be useless to us. What we need is to be able to bring it back by clicking on the object underneath. So in this case, that's Dooney. So what we can do is we add another effect to this circle, and that's going to be appear. And so we need to set our trigger as the Dooney image. So I click the down pointing arrow. We go timing, triggers, start effect on click of, and we've got picture 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4. That is absolutely worthless to us. So thanks very much to PowerPoint for that. And this is where these dummy effects came into play. So what you can do to find out which picture you're actually dealing with as far as PowerPoint is concerned, you can just move the circle out of the way, and if you click on this object, any animation that's applied to it is immediately going to get highlighted. And so this immediately tells us that in PowerPoint's complicated mind, Dooney is called picture 5. So now we can reselect our circle, add an effect, entrance, appear. And this time for the trigger, we are going to set it to picture 5. And there you go. Incidentally, because I had already applied this appear effect, I've got this extra one here. Just watch out for that. I'm going to remove that because that could really mess things up. And before we go any further, this is very important. You really want to test this and make sure it's working, because this is what we're going to use as our base for all the other covers. So I'm going to click slideshow. We click this and it disappears. Then we click Dooney and it comes back. So that's absolutely perfect. And what I can now actually do is select this object. I'm going to go copy and paste. And I'm going to move this over T-row. Now, all that we need to do with this one is to change some of the triggers. You'll see that PowerPoint is actually clever enough to know that because in this case, when we added the effect to make this disappear, we made this object its own trigger. It's actually remembered that. So now that we've got oval 31 here, the disappear animation is automatically set to trigger when you click on it and not oval 30. So that's actually quite helpful. We now have to deal with the reappear animation. So it doesn't know what the trigger for this is going to be, so it just doesn't have any trigger at all. So we know that we're dealing with oval 31 because as soon as we click it, these two animations are highlighted. So again, I just move this out of the way. I click T-row, and we know that T-row is picture 8. So I go back to the circle, and here I've got my appear animation. So I'm going to click this, go timing, triggers, start effect on click of, picture 8. Okay. Now let's test again. So we click this and it disappears, we click T-row and back it comes. So far everything is working quite nicely. What I'm going to do now to just speed this up, I'm going to click this circle, I'm going to hit Control C to copy it. I'm going to hit Control V 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to move each one of these circles over a different character. And now we just repeat the process of adding the triggers to these appear animations. So here we click and we can see that oval 33 has been highlighted. Once again, we see that the disappear animation is going to work just fine because it's going to disappear when we click oval 33. And we just need to know which picture is going to be the trigger for the appear animation. So again, we simply move this out the way, click hippo key. We see that hippo key is picture 6. So now we can go back to our circle, oval 33, timing, triggers, picture 6, okay. And as always, we immediately test. So we click goodbye, and there you go. I'm just going to repeat the process 2 more times very quickly. We have Chikimo, which is oval 34. Chikimo himself is picture 4. So for oval 34's appear, timing, triggers, start effect and click off, picture 4, there you go. Let's just test this. Click the circle, we click Chikimo, and there you go. Last but not least, Rinky is picture number 7. So oval 32, we change the trigger to picture number 7. Okay, there you go. I'm going to test that. So far everything is looking okay. I can click all of these to bring these back. It doesn't matter what order I go in. And so we have a great success. Everything is working perfectly. And the last thing that I need to do now is to get rid of all of these. So I just click one and go remove. Click that, go remove, 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 remove. If at some stage you ever need to come back and start editing these and you start having the problems with keeping track of which picture is which, you can always just move these and then go back and start adding these emphasis effects just to get an idea of where you are. Of course, you would want to do the same thing for each of these text boxes. So I'm not going to drag you through the process. It would be exactly the same. You would just create a box. And in this case, it would be even easier to do your triggers because you would actually know, you can see if you want to add a trigger to any animation, which one of these is Chikimo, etc., etc. So it's really helpful to make one of these circles that's going to cover something up first with all of your animations, and then you can just copy and paste it as many times as you need. And for each new copy, all that you actually need to do is check what the picture underneath it is called, and simply change its trigger for when it reappears. And that's going to save you a lot of time when you're making a matching game.